Lachie, last episode we finished the episode with a question, and the question was, as we listened back to our first ever take, episode 0, what do we want to do into the future that is making us better, that, like quality of audio or how we talk or conversation flow? What are some things that we can do that are better? And so I'm interested in, as you edited the last episode and listened to it, what would you do differently for the future?
I feel like we need to get better at starting and finishing. I feel like we naturally talk a lot, on script, off script, all over the place. So finding a good way to start an episode and finish. From editing, I know this is jumping ahead, but editing the end of the episode, from like the first 3 minutes in, or like the first minute in, there was no cuts. It was just straight audio.
Yeah.
But we could have ended the episode like 6 times.
Yes.
I love the natural conversation.
Yep.
I love the no cuts. Besides a few ums, ahs, and obnoxiously long breaks.
Yes.
But yeah, I think finding a way to start and finish is going to be a really essential part.
Yeah.
Within the episodes, so there's a bit of structure and it can be followed.
And it's probably like a different way of thinking about a conversation, because you and I don't often have an official end to a conversation. You usually look at your watch and be like, right, I've got to go. And like that's how we finish natural conversations. And this is a little bit different. So yeah, I get that. My reflection was, I listened to it when you sent it to me with AirPods in, and the pan was you were in my left ear and I was in my right ear. And I felt like the whole time I was just getting thrown, I was too aware of what ear was listening and not being able to like sink in. And so what we've done is we've attempted something else, which we won't actually know if it's worked until post-edit Lachie is engaged with it. But I think that would help me engage if I can hear it more in like the center of my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know when I listened to it out loud on my phone, it was better, but I often listen to it with an AirPod in. So, in terms of like audio quality, that would be my reflection.
Yeah, I think we both came together and agreed that for the first 30 seconds, it was quite cool because it felt like you were in the conversation.
Something different.
You could look left and right and you could see and hear them.
Yeah.
But after that, it was obnoxious. And it took away from the conversation, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think we knew that was going to happen.
No, not at all.
Because it was our first time using the software, but here we are, and we'll see what this turns into.
So good.
As this is the official episode 1.
Episode 1.
Episode 0 was a hoot. I loved it.
It was great.
We could do more of those.
I've been living off that high for a week now.
Yeah. Was it a week? When did we...
Oh, it would have been Friday. 6 days. Yeah.
Just under.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot. I've watched the episode, I think, like 3 times. Well, listened. There's not much to watch.
No.
But as it's episode 1, I thought it would be cool to do a bit of a deep dive into ourselves. Question for you, Jonah.
Okay.
Kicking off, a little bit about who are we and how did you get here?
Yep. During high school, I'm just going to launch straight into it.
Send it.
During high school, I worked with a like an outdoor education camping organisation, and I did that for year 11 and 12. I just volunteered on some like summer camps, and I didn't have any language. I didn't have any understanding. All I knew was that I loved it, but I didn't know why. And so when I finished high school, I didn't want to go straight into uni, although I had applied. And I was looking around at this idea of like a gap year or an internship, and the company that I had volunteered with offered a internship program. And so I kind of looked more into that specific industry of camping and discovered a range of internships. And I selected one that was a different organization, and hearing about the journey and what they offered, there was something in me that just knew that was the one. So I ended up not applying for anything else and applied for this internship And I remember sitting in my interview after I submitted an application, and the people that were hiring were like, "So what do you know about the program?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, honestly, all I know is I feel like I'm meant to be here." And, I was super oblivious to, and I don't know why they accepted me, but they did.
No, that was the right answer. That's what they were looking for.
And so I spent 2 years being trained in the outdoors and in this camping world, just fully immersed. When I finished the internship, there were 2 roles opening up in the department that I wanted to move into, and me and my best mate applied for the 2 roles thinking that they were made specifically for my friend and I, and he ended up getting it and I didn't, and I took some serious offense to that and decided, well, if you can't have me full time, you can't have me at all. I'm not going to come back as a casual. I had a lot of pride. And so I left, and I ended up working in a warehouse for like 4.5 years. Just a concrete box with pallets and pallets and pallets of just brown boxes. And my job was to forklift them off and put them on the back of a truck to get sent, or unload them from a truck and put them on the shelf. And I had to do a lot of kind of like soul searching, or I had to do a lot of kind of internal work in that space. And there was a lot happening in my world at that time. But like I needed to be away, and if it felt like it was my own learning from an experience. It just wasn't in an outdoor setting, it was in a warehouse. And had to let go of a lot, had to process a lot. Anyway, at the end of the 4 years, the day that I gave them like 6 months to say that I was leaving, and the day that I left, I was driving home, and my old boss from the campsite from the internship, he called me as I was driving home, and he said, "What are you doing for work at the moment?" And I said, "I've literally just finished, and I'm unemployed." And he said, "Well, if you ever want to come back, you can." And that was like the start of December, and in the January I came back to the campsite as a casual, and then became permanent kind of 4 or 5 months later into like a dream role that I'm very satisfied and love. That's my journey into like the camping, experiential learning, temporary community space. If you want more about me, currently I'm 29. I've been married for nearly 3 years. Haven't got kids. Just become an uncle. And loving this sweet little pocket that I'm in life. That's a little bit about me. That felt squished into not a long time, but
no, that's awesome. That's Jonah's episode.
That's it. Wrap it up. We know how to finish an episode. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. This is going to be a crazy journey because we're both going to learn more about each other as we go, which is going to be awesome. I've heard similar story from you as we've discussed it in the past. However, the timing of quitting a job on your last day and getting a phone call,
crazy.
Some sort of star aligned there.
100%.
Is a roller coaster.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You've done well.
That's me, and I'm happy to be here. Lachie, tell us about you. How did you get here?
Start the timer. I feel like I just start from schooling, because schooling's where I realised that I couldn't handle school in general.
Right.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Being in a classroom and stuff, I always wanted to just not be there, and if that meant I had to disturb the class or do something silly to get sent out, it was almost the best way to go about it, because I could be outside and not just have to sit and listen and do stuff. I had to be moving. Probably some level of ADHD somewhere in the blood, but I just loved being outside, even if I was doing nothing. Literally, like now, just sitting here looking at a fire, like that's just what I needed. In year 8 was a memorable moment. A lot of schools do school camps, and year 8 was one of my more memorable experiences from a school camp. I went out with a company. I met an awesome character of a human who goes by the name of Crackers. So obviously not their real name, but for the context of the podcast, Crackers is, if you imagined in many ways why that nickname may have came up, it's just because he was a hoot and he just made everyone laugh and feel accepted and valued and like understood.
Mm-hmm.
And so along this camp, similar to school, I went on camp and it was a space I wanted to be in, but it was with school.
Right.
And so it felt like the classroom, even though we were in a dream location and outdoors and whatnot. It was very out of my depth. Had many fears at the time. But this Crackers guy, although I wasn't with him 24/7, every time I felt like he was my brother or my father. Like he was just the level of connection that I experienced was out of the world. And I went home from that camp and just could not stop thinking about this guy and how I'd never met him. I've had best friends at school every day that I'd hang out with, and the connection wasn't as strong as this one random guy that I met on camp, which was, for me, just massive. And then I continued on my journey just through school and struggled. I changed schools, moved around, and then in year 10, within like New South Wales, maybe other states do it as well, but we do work experience through school. And me having no idea what I wanted to do, I didn't want to do a trade, I didn't want to do anything just to like, there was no passion, like there's nothing I wanted. And my careers advisor at my school asked we went on a deep dive of things I love to do, and somehow we ended up on the topic of this camp that I went on and this Crackers that I met. And he said, why don't you, those guys get paid, why don't you research some companies and let's tee one up together. And so my instant thought, which was out of pocket, was to contact the company that Crackers work for. Yep. And I managed to, after some time, tee up some work experience with them. So good. And this company does camps like all over the place. But the one camp that I got on for work experience was the year 8 camp from my previous school. Wow. So similar to your story, something aligned. Yeah. And so I went back to this place with a whole new perspective. It was like 2 years later. A lot had changed in my life, and I got to see a lot of familiar teachers and some brothers of my friends and stuff like that. So still felt connected and safe, but I got to see the camp and the experience from an industry side, and I got to like work with Crackers and see how he operates. He was still there? He was still there. That's so good. And I feel like driving in, it was my fingers crossed. I think deep down the only reason I was there was for this Crackers fella. Yeah. And so to find him and see him and be able to work alongside him a little bit was what just got me hooked. And post that camp, I kept in contact. When I reached the appropriate age, I reached out for a job. Stars aligned, got a job, started working in the industry. And it was incredible. I ran a bunch of camps with those guys. I was very fresh. I felt like I feel like it's imposter syndrome. You got all these super qualified professionals around you. I'm here with like no quals, looking to do my qualification. Fresh out of school. Yeah. Yeah. And there's something about walking into a space of people you know but you don't know. I'd been on camp with them once or twice and I knew them, but now I'm working alongside them and they're trusting me and I'm trusting them. It's a whole nother world. But in that space, I just got to connect with kids in school. Arguably, I was almost the same age as them, so it's a lot easier. Yeah. But that whole experience and getting a job with them just solidified the industry. I was like, this is what I need. And it was very selfish. It was all for me. I wanted to do this because I wanted to just be on camp 24/7. I don't want to work or do a real job. And the fact you could get paid for it was awesome. The base qualification for our industry in most places is a Cert 3. And so I searched online. I said Cert 3 near me, and the place we work at now pops up, and I was like, say less, I'll go there, do my Cert 3, disappear back to the other company, and then that's my life. But after completing my Cert 3, it's like a 8 to 10 month, 12 month course at the time, I'd met a lot of people and made a lot of connections within the same industry, but at a whole nother campsite. And something that was very evident to me is there was no crackers. He wasn't there. And I feel like over that time of Cert 3, I made it my goal to be crackers, but I couldn't be crackers where crackers was.
Mm-hmm.
I had to establish my own style and my own vibe, and I feel like that's still to this day, that's what I carry is that foundation.
Yeah.
I went back to the other company for a bit, similar to you. I kind of said, no, this isn't for me. I'm going somewhere else. And then after, I think it was only like 6 months, I turned around and was like, this isn't for me. Like, I love the people here. I love the system. I love everything.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
And so then I came back to where we are now, and I think it's been just over 6 years now.
Wow.
Of just like almost every day of the week besides weekends, just learning, developing, growing, pumping information, and literally just today, like socializing and mentoring kids through a school group that were me when I was in school. They don't want to listen. They don't want to sit in the room. They want to be out. They want to be bending the rules a bit. They want to be having fun. They want to be telling jokes and bantering. And I feel like all that experience is just kind of like aligned to get me here.
That's I didn't, like, I knew you came from a different organization, but I didn't know your journey in from high school, and like this Crackers character, you know, from year 8 camp. Like I didn't. This is the first time I'm hearing that kind of stuff, and that's it makes a lot of sense to me. Like watching you operate now. One, knowing you now, I couldn't imagine you in a classroom setting, because like you'll learn best active, doing something, figuring it out. That's how you learn best, and you're incredible at it. Picturing you trying to sit at a desk as a year 8 kid, like, would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I severely apologise to all my teachers. If by chance this video ever met one of them.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
But then hearing like the connection that you made, and you had an experience on camp away from your normal.
Yeah.
And that stuck with, like, that feeling has stuck with you since year 8, and that's the magic of camp. Like, and that's, I'll put words in your mouth and mine. That's why we love it.
Yeah,
because we interact with kids every day, and we have a potential to leave a kid with that feeling. And you know, Crackers had no idea at the time how much he would shape your world and your future, and that's incredible. What a gift. Reminds me of a story that happened this week. Sure. Are we happy to move on?
Let's
go.
I
can come back to your story for
sure.
This week, Lachie, we met 2 boys who, within 5 minutes of arriving at camp with their school, getting off buses and sitting in a big auditorium kind of space, within 5 minutes of sitting down, the head teacher was on the phone calling their parents, telling them they were going to go home because they had made some wrong decisions. And you and I were at the front, and they were kind of stood next to us. And we have this incredible gift of being an outdoor guide because we're not teachers. We kind of, if we had to sit in any category, it's kind of like friend, mentor, guide, not teacher, authority kind of character. And so we got to stand next to this kid and get to know him and his, you know, we asked about, you know, what's your name and what are you doing standing up here? And we had a little bit of joke, you know, we were like joking with him. And he kind of quite quickly picked up that we didn't really care that he was in trouble and that we weren't going to get him any more trouble. And he was going to get sent home. Not sure what happened. We were out for the rest of the day. And then I was walking past. This is probably like 4 hours later. And I hadn't seen this kid. 4 hours later, he's sitting on the bench with his bag still, with his teacher. And I walk past and he looks at me and he goes, "Jonah, what are you still doing here?" And I was like, "Well, I work here." And then I looked at him and I was like, "What are you still doing here?" Like, and we just cracked up.
Yeah.
And the teacher said, "We've decided to give him a second chance." And I felt like I had a connection with this kid a little bit. And so I said, "Hey, don't waste it. Don't waste the second chance." And I don't know the rest of his story. I hope he didn't waste it. But he was like, "No, I won't." And it's those little moments that I don't know what that will mean for him. And he might have been really annoying for the rest of the camp and whatever. But it was like giving kids an opportunity to go, I'm not a teacher, I'm in a different context, I'm a little bit older, and I can say to you, hey, if you get a second chance, don't waste it. Like, and I hope that feeling stays with him until forever. It's such a gift.
I'll add a chapter 2
Please,
to your story.
Please.
So generally once groups arrive on our camps, they come in all together, and then very quickly they're split into groups. Before that, they'll have a meal all together, and then that's kind of like the point of division. So they'll split away, have all these individual experiences in groups of like 15 to 20, and then come back together for meals to share experiences, which is a pretty humble space. So we didn't get to see where this kid was going, what group he was going to be in, who he was going to be with. But after your 4-hour window, I came back from an activity. We had a bit of a break and a turnaround, and then I went back out to gather my group, and we had +1, and +1 was this guy.
Kid. Oh yes, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
so good.
Turns out that a lot of the kids that were misbehaving early on were placed in my group to just kind of like fit the mold. There's no easy way to split a bunch of kids up.
No.
You're gonna pull friends out of friend groups, and you're gonna make it difficult. But I got to follow through and have that instant connection with that kid throughout the rest of his camp.
That's so good.
A lot of days blur together within this job.
But
from what I can remember, he followed through to the whole end of the camp, to the point where other instructors and guides within our team had shared stories of this kid, and I could pitch in by eavesdropping and tell them the name of the kid, and they'd be like, yeah, that guy.
I had that guy.
And so not only like do we get to have that impression, but it's what I tell kids all the time, is they leave an impression. And this guy, although he was misbehaving within the school structure, on camp he became a main character. And not negatively. He just needed something that wasn't straight authority, and something that was a relaxed brother-friend approach. And I feel like we, as a team, achieved that. And I'm sure it's something we'll talk about in another episode, but all we did was walk into the hall, spot one kid, and start a conversation. And you had an instant connection that followed through to that afternoon. I had a connection with him more than any other kid in my whole group. Just from that one conversation. I didn't know he was going to be with me.
No.
He wasn't with me for the whole first day. And it wasn't until that afternoon that he just appeared in my arms, and I knew straight away. I said, we're gonna be friends.
We're gonna have a good time.
That's
so good.
Awesome full circle.
That's fantastic.
That was incredible. So the second half of this is the concept of what is Stoke, and what we've discussed what we want it to be in the dream, but I find that as some of those stories, things align strangely. This started out as very much a joke and became serious over a few conversations. We spoke about, Jonah and I share podcasts a lot, and episodes and funny moments from clips we've seen online and read in books and stuff, but I feel like that all kind of led to, let's do this ourselves and make our own. And there's going to be no better way. So if we do reference books, podcasts, people, whatever, we'll try to keep it as like untitled as we can. Without throwing people under the bus or other stories under the bus. But
unless we're like just fully ripping off ideas, and then we should probably...
Oh, absolutely.
But it's like things that we are thinking about or processing, that kind of stuff.
So behind the name of Stoke to me right now sounds a bit weird when you just say it. I feel like it should be stoked, like with a D.
And then it makes me feel like the surf community.
That's what I mean. Like I feel like stoked has a different meaning behind it, whereas Stoke is... You look up the definition on Google, and it's just talking about like adding to the fire, and it says something about like a physical substance, but a lot of this won't be physical. It'll be...
You can be made physical.
Hypothetical. Could be made physical. Are you getting up to get some sticks?
I'm about to do what you're talking about.
Oh, he's on the move. He's stoking. So just a bit behind the name of Stoke. We we're obviously in the outdoors. We love a campfire. We've described the importance of a campfire, and I'm sure we will many times over.
It's an icon.
But it's a big part of the industry that we work in and our day-to-day.
We often think and we often talk in metaphors. And so the idea of our purpose and the things that we're thinking about being like a fire, and that if you don't keep adding wood or if you don't keep adding fuel to a fire, it does burn out. And it reminded me of what you're saying about you kind of need to reevaluate that why every so often, or that purpose. And it's going, well, I kind of have like this baseline coals that are burning in why I'm here, but I need to keep it going, and I need to keep the fire and put different fuel on, see what happens, and in order to do that, there's this like stoking element to it. And so we often think in metaphors, so putting it into like a fire metaphor makes a lot of sense to me.
Episode 0, we touched on the metaphor space, and we talked about gathering our sticks and gathering our thoughts and building the fire and getting ready. And I feel like within a little document on my phone, I've spent some time gathering sticks and thoughts. We together have added a substantial list of possible topics and key points of interest that we'd love to discuss.
Yeah.
And judging by the notes I have, we've got a solid 5 episodes.
Yeah.
With just titles.
Yep.
Not much of a script or a dot point, but
No.
I feel like after reflecting on this episode, we can expand on that. So currently, I'm uncertain of what your day looks like or has looked like. Mine's been quite eventful.
Yeah, you were telling me about that on the way out.
Yeah, I had an interesting group. A lot of groups that come into our camp, on average, run a 3-day program. And it's 2 nights, arrive on one day, have one full day, and then another half day at the end.
Leave after lunch.
And the first day and night is always pretty rough as the kids settle in and understand. Something recently I've been telling the kids is like, you're coming into my house. Like I don't live here, but I'm here arguably more than I am at my house.
Yeah.
So
it's just as good as.
I want to welcome you in. I want to offer you things, but you need to respect the space.
Yeah.
And I feel like the first day and night of camp, that takes a while to land.
Yeah.
And so the group that I've had recently, or the last couple of groups I've had, have really struggled in that settling space. And what assists in that is those little one-on-one moments with kids throughout our whole team. It's not individual. It's not just me. It's not just you. It's you're meeting one kid and having a connection. I'm meeting one kid having a connection. They share that with someone and it spreads just like crazy, like a wildfire. But I feel like today the group really settled, and
So good.
some of the activities I had lined up today were just bonkers with a bad group. But I feel like the group really switched on and they were ready.
Yeah.
A bit sleep deprived, but they were ready.
Day 3 is always sleep deprived.
Oh yeah.
Circling back to who are you, who am I?
Here
Can we do that?
We can.
We can just circle back.
I don't really say much about me personally, but
Well, I was thinking something that you and I do quite intentionally is you and I get lunch off-site. We jump in your car primarily.
I always have my key on me.
And we and we drive and we go get lunch. And usually in that kind of 5 to 10 minute driving experience, we often find ourselves in a pretty interesting conversation.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes other people are in the car with us, and we like to find out a little bit about them. And I know we've done this before, but I wonder if, just to help, if anybody's listening, hi mum, if they can connect with us more. One question that we asked people and each other, and it happened in the car, was, what are 3 words that would describe you? This is really off the cuff. This is just like the car.
Oh, it's harder in the car because you got to focus on driving. But here you got to focus on nothing. Similar to passion, drive, and motivation of the job day to day, I feel like these words are going to change very regularly and rotate, disappear, come back, reappear.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. To give us more time to think, we might go 1 for 1.
Oh, I love it.
If you're okay with that.
No, yeah, I threw you under the bus, so it's all right that you throw me back under. You drag me down with you.
Get under the bus with me.
Okay.
A word recently that I feel like ties in a lot is perspective.
Mm.
And allow me to go into definition to provide perspective and context.
Please.
But I find throughout school and all that kind of stuff, where I struggled the most was where I lacked perspective. I didn't understand that the teachers were doing a job. I didn't understand that as much as I didn't want to be there, sometimes they didn't want to be there.
Mm.
And so I find recently, after some of these conversations and conversations with other people, using perspective has become like a key value. And I find that leads to like empathy and understanding and a lot more kindness within your day-to-day, because you, even if you're wrong, you're still giving someone the benefit of the doubt and really trying to put yourself in their shoes. And I find just doing that more intentionally, it's become natural. Yeah. And now I just
saw the most incredible shooting star. And another one. I'm not even kidding. That thing was green and it split into 3 across the sky. That was nuts. I'm so sorry.
This is why we need visual.
That was crazy.
Visual coming soon.
Anyway, sorry, dude. Perspective.
Perspective. You got quite a good perspective.
Dude, I can see you and the moon, man.
My legs are sore, so I'm currently standing up over the fire, and Jonah's looking up towards me and a bunch of shooting stars, apparently.
It was sick.
Yeah, without rambling too much, because we've got 6 words to get through.
Yep.
3 each, but perspective.
Nice.
Big one.
It's great. I love your definition on putting yourself in other people's shoes and trying to see life or experience or moments through their perspective. And it's so good. I was just thinking of a word. I think I'm in a season of intrigue. Like we often use the word curious, and to take that off the table, we were both quite curious people. But I am in a little season of intrigue. Like I'm wondering. Part of my job is I get to look after some young adults. And I'm intrigued in their future, like who they could become and their potential. Who they are now, very intriguing, and who they could be, fascinating. And I'm in this very interesting season of I'm intrigued what could be, and that kind of spans out from the workplace to my home life and the things that I'm a part of outside of work. Like I'm intrigued. So I'd use that word to describe me.
So good. Recently, by recently I mean this morning, I am not much of a music person, as I hinted at a little bit in episode 0. But I love a good podcast or just a chat and a conversation whilst driving. It's not something you have to watch or observe. You can just listen and focus on the road and kind of like think whilst still concentrating at the same time, not being too distracted. And one of our best friends that we don't know in person, Simon.
We love him.
We love a good Simon. He made a video that talks a little bit about the difference between nice and kind.
So good.
And so I feel like for me, recently and moving forward, kind is a word that I want to pursue, but not...
There's no way they can hear that aeroplane, surely.
Surely they can. It's like an A380 just like zooming through the sky. I guess that's the downside of being out in nature. You're going to get squirrels, rats, drop bears.
That's like the real deal. It's not this clean cut studio podcast.
No good lighting here. Natural.
Kindness.
Yeah, kindness is not in the, like, if I'm going to be very open, and this probably leads to my 3rd word.
Please.
But
are you double barreling? So I have to go 2. Do it.
I don't know what word I want to use for it, so I'll leave it. But I'm very self-aware, I think, is the word of some sort. Not that I'm going to use for this experiment, but I'm very self-aware that I can come across as like blunt or direct or whatever.
Yeah.
But in this discussion around the word nice and kind, nice is I'm just going to do what's best for you, and if that means hide something from you or protect you in a way
Yeah.
to make you feel better, then that's what you'd do.
It's kind of being like polite or like pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas kind is almost the reverse of that, but in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I will tell you quite directly and in the right context what I think and what I feel for the betterment of our friendship and relationship and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I find in the past that's burnt me a little bit, no pun intended. But being more kind and using it in a way to, this is real off the cuffs, trying to form sentences together.
You're doing well.
Trying to help people directly, but not being as blunt, and trying to portray the sense that the way I talk and the way I operate is very sharp and to the point, and obviously to like be the best I can be. But what I've done in the past is force that onto other people,
Right.
and that has disturbed many friendships and made me a bit of a solo trooper. But
Yeah.
within this job and this industry, I get to experiment on people who are learning as well.
Yeah.
And I find I've started finding processes of ways to portray information and communicate and talk in a way that's kind.
Yeah.
And so I can completely shut someone down. I can completely give them brutal feedback to their face, but do it in a way that they can tell is from the heart and it's for the best of them.
Yeah.
And so I think if I was to use perspective in combination with kind,
It's good.
right now on the journey I'm on, I feel like that's two words that are just
It's so good.
just bang on.
It's kind of like the difference between being nice and being kind is similar to being kind and being blunt.
Yeah.
Like blunt's at the far end
Absolutely.
and nice is at the other end and kind is the sweet spot in the middle.
Yeah.
So good. I was actually very wrapped up in listening to you because that was so elegantly put that I am mad scrambling for a second word.
That's all right. We've got a fire. No one else has a fire, but we can sit and,
Oh,
and
it
think.
does need a stoke.
We can let it build. We're good.
I don't know if there's a word. It might come to me at the end. But a little while ago I was reading a book and the book is called The Courage to Be Disliked. It's a fascinating book. You're reading a conversation, so it flips between two characters, a student and a professor, and you kind of read it like a script. And a lot of it is very whack and really challenged my thinking. But at the core of it, the invitation is that courage isn't talking about something. Courage is doing something. And so they would say something like if you set a New Year's resolution and you give up or you don't complete it, it's because you don't have courage. And that has stuck with me, and I find myself starting a lot of things or dreaming a lot of things and maybe beginning, but I've found in reflection that I probably don't have courage to keep going or to like really push in. And if I can boil that down to its minimum, is that I might not have a lot of courage. And I think probably using my first word, I'm intrigued by that and challenged. And I want to... There's situations where I know I can put on courage and go, I have to do this. But I want to be someone that like innately has courage. Again, I don't know what the word is, but maybe the word is I'm in a courage deficit. Or I'm increasing my courage. It's not like I have none, but I'm learning to increase that. In hard conversations, I would say I lean towards the nice scale of the nice to blunt kind in the middle. I lean towards being pleasant, and I think it's because I need to grow in courage in saying the kind thing or doing the kind thing. And so I would say at the moment that's another word that's describing me. I don't know if that's even a word. It's a thing that's describing me.
We'll research it. We'll add it to
Yeah.
the list. I feel we both sit not on either end of the spectrum and not in the middle, but we're both, if there was a middle of the middle, we're both on slightly opposite sides.
Yes.
And so
You're in
I
between kind and blunt,
yeah.
and I'm in between nice and kind.
Yeah. And so you've always had a lot more calmer, genuine friend approach to situations and conversations.
Mm.
And then I've always had a way more direct approach.
Mm.
And I feel like recently and moving forward, it's a balance. Because I don't want to get rid of the bluntness, because I respect
Yeah, it's a good tool
anyone
to
that
have.
can be honest.
Yeah.
But you need to learn how to deliver the honesty.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
we're about to meet in the middle.
we can help each other, and we can get there.
100%.
All right, back to me. So perspective and kind are my two words. Oh. I'm in a similar boat. Like I have a thought and a word that doesn't exist yet.
Dude.
Just trying to pull all the letters together. You've hinted on it a lot, but I'm someone who, in a non-upsetting way, like I'm never good enough. And that's my mentality is I'm never a master, I'm never a professional, I'm never the best. And normally that's because the things I do are unmeasurable. Like some of the sports I've played in the past or hobbies, you can't be the best. There's nothing you can do. There's no ranking, there's no scoring, no system.
There's no metric. Yeah.
There's no metric to be like, you are the best in the country, in the state, wherever.
Yeah.
It's just not measurable.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of that comes from, if you, let's use a bit of an analogy here. If you were like a basketball team, you could have like the best defender within a team, or the best defender on a court, or the best defender within a state.
Yeah.
You could have like the best attacker or 3-point shooter. Like I find I force myself to be all round.
Yeah.
I want to be a flat line across all categories. So as soon as I find a weakness, I target that weakness 200% to get it up to where everything else is until there's a new weakness.
Yeah.
And so it's just constantly fighting that battle of, not in a sad and upsetting way of never being good enough, but a mentality switch of you're doing this incredibly well, you're doing it better than some other people, you're putting in a bit more effort here and there, but you can still do it better. And I find that's what leads to that attribute that you said you like. Some people absolutely hate it. And I think it's the nice and kind. Yeah. I don't portray it in the right way. Right. But I feel like if I can learn to portray it into other people, it's going to become almost a superpower.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, would like drive be the right word? Like you have drive to be the best. It's specific in that area of like you want to be the best, but you, and again, not in a sad way, but you don't ever let yourself be the best, but you still want to be the best. But you have that drive to keep going.
Could be drive.
Could be drive.
We said in episode 0 something that put us both to silence. Was like, you're an expert when you realise you'll never be an expert.
That's it, yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. Like, I want to be the best, but I know I never will be.
Yes.
And so it's the continuation of just trying to get better and better and better with no end goal. Yeah. And I see that day to day, and I know people around me see it, but it comes across negatively. And so I think incorporating perspective and kind into that space is gonna help portray that in a more positive manner.
It's good.
Inside work, inside life, inside walking through the shopping centre, like anywhere.
It's good.
So let's go. Final wrap up for me.
Yep.
Perspective.
Yep.
Kind. I'm gonna go driven.
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 It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I will go with a bit more of a lighthearted one. I think I've really tapped into being a bit cheeky. It runs pretty strongly in my family. And I think the place that you and I operate in allows us to be a bit cheeky. And obviously, like, some kids on camp don't realize how hilarious they are, and they're not trying to be naughty, like they're just funny. Yeah. And I love that, and so I think that keeps me young. But I love adding a bit of cheekiness to my day, and stirring the pot a little bit. There's somebody who works in the same office building, and I've known this person for a very long time, and I know the exact things to rile this person up in like the bed, like tease them and whatever. And Yeah, and and we end up just having a great time, and so I love being cheeky. So I'll lock in that as my third word. So my 3 words were
Cheeky.
intrigue, that thing that I can't describe of wanting to be courageous,
Mm.
and being a bit cheeky. I'd say it would be my 3.
Oh.
Lachie, do you have a question for us for our next episode? That is a massive under the bus.
Humongous. I might quickly, on a side note, just kind of like spitball the episode titles.
Okay,
I have aligned. Sorry, you got no choice in this. We both compiled a list of things that we would love to talk about in detail, with 0 time limit, and I feel like we've been smoking this one.
Yeah, what's that? Nearly an hour?
Yeah, I just checked, and it's about 55
I saw your
minutes.
face, and so I was like, I remember what you said at the start about needing a clear finish, and that's why I asked, do you have a question for the next episode?
We've done well. So episode 1 was all about an intro into Lachie and Jonah and ourselves and our personalities and
tick.
our
And that'll come
story.
out more in other episodes too.
Absolutely. We'll constantly just loop back. What is Stoke? Behind the name, the logo, expectations. Talk about the theory, why fire, some metaphors and analogies. That's just always going to happen, and I'm sorry. If you don't like it,
listen to another podcast.
yeah.
I'm being kind.
We can point you to some people.
Yes.
Episode 2, we work in a space of outdoor education, experiential learning, temporary community, just experiences in general. And so we want to deep dive into what is that.
Is that the next episode?
I reckon.
Done.
I reckon just send.
It gives some context, and then we can springboard off.
Yeah. Talks about some of the rules that we follow, some of the theories we've learnt, how we provide an experience, how do we reflect on it and move forward from it.
Yep.
So we'll bring some of those tools out. Episode 3 should be about asking good questions.
Ooh, yeah.
One of your favourite topics. I know for a fact you're one that brought this one up. And then I added to it a little bit with some side conversation.
Yep.
But with an experience, you need to ask questions and you need to discuss it for that experience to even mean something to you. Yep. So I feel like that ties in great.
Yep.
Episode 4, going off script and the power of moments and conversation and just being impromptu and the effect that has on everything.
Man, I'm excited for every episode you're talking about.
And then episode 5, which again is one of yours, but I've fallen into recently, is the power of story.
Ooh.
And how we can use story within our industry, but also just within this podcast and general conversation.
It's good.
The impact that has.
A lot to figure out.
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
I think it's going to be awesome. In terms of a question, if we're going to go into experiential learning as a topic, something along the lines of what is like a key experience or moment that you've had that has kind of like changed the way you think, or something like that.
Love it.
We will look for an experience that sticks with us and maybe just share a story about that specific experience.
Sick. All right, I'll keep my eyes open.
I'll write a note so that we have good wording there.
It's good. Lachie, that feels like the end of the episode.
Feels like a great way to finish. I reckon we go and warm up. We listen to this back, we edit it, chuck it all together and
see what happens.
Get it out there.